Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey, everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you all for being on the call today. Especially appreciate everyone who's here live. We have quite a large group today, and just super excited for what we get to discover today. In our rounds of gratitude before we started, there were a couple things that came up more than once, and one was about our food, fresh food, and with the experiences that we're having right now, that's something to be super grateful for, to have a restocking a supply chain of fresh foods. And then the other one was scriptures and the assurance that comes from that, and from prophets past and present. And I felt like that concept of a supply chain really kind of fit with that information that comes through those prophets as well. So that's what we're going to focus on today, is gratitude for supply chain. And we'll just see what comes up. So I'm going to set my timer for 90 seconds. And we're going to do a private silent meditation on gratitude for supply chains. I'm going to make that plural. Gratitude for supply chains. So 90-second private meditation. Just write down whatever comes to you on gratitude for supply chains. Begin. All right. Just got to write a couple more things down here. All right. The first thing that came to me, my daughter is an assistant manager at a grocery store. And so she's been going to work every day. And then she comes home and jumps in the shower, takes all of her clothes and puts them in a basket, hamper, and then jumps in the shower. And before she goes straight into there and then, gets with the family. And I just kind of see her as somebody that's on the front lines. Super grateful, for those people who are continuing to supply food to our community. And then immediately I thought about supply chains of information. This gratitude call is a supply chain. The internet, email, social media, Zoom, that we do our gratitude call on, these are all part of the supply chain. And then the next thing that came to me was like a fireman's bucket brigade. If somebody's house is on fire, that everybody in the community comes out, and everybody, somebody starts at the well and pass the bucket, and everybody brings a bucket, and they're just like passing it along to help put this fire out. And that visual really helped me to see that it's not just, my daughter going to work at a grocery store, or the truck driver that's bringing the food in, or whatever, that creates that supply chain. Every single one of us is part of that. I know in the grocery store where my daughter works, they put a sign up. They put signs all over the store, actually, that says something like, be human, consider the needs of others, something about, I can't remember, it doesn't say don't hoard, but that's basically, what the message is to take what you need, but consider the needs of others. I think that's what it says. And we are all part of the supply chain. We're all part of helping our, not just our community, but our world community to be successful in this time of need. Who else has something they'd like to share?
I'll share.
Thanks, Melissa.
I was on the same wavelength as you about this call being part of the supply chain. And I've been preparing, I have a small mastermind in my neighborhood that we've created for people who are willing and ready to, build the kingdom of God on the earth. And it's basically us coming together with a desire to be leaders and to study the words of God, and to basically improve ourselves so that when things do get harder than they are right now, that we're ready for it. And so I've just been kind of pouring my heart into studying the scriptures and the words of the prophets. And it's just been so incredible to see how I'm taking information given long ago, sometimes, thousands of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we're bringing it together in this day, and we're looking forward to a perfect day. And it's just like this chain of information that just enlivens and makes us feel just so worthy and so great in such a hard time. And so it's been a great study for me.
Beautiful. I am so grateful on many levels for what you're doing, because I know that is what I feel like my calling is too, is to raise up leaders in this time, and for you to be taking that as a responsibility for yourself too. That's super grateful for that. The other level that I'm really grateful for is, I know you and I, Melissa, have had conversations about like what your message is, what your niche is, who you get to serve. And this time is starting to bring that out in you. So thank you. I'm super grateful that you're listening and that you're taking action on those. Who else?
I'd like to speak.
Thanks, Phil.
So my thought went to motivation and what motivates us. And it went to, like, there's that need for subsistence. There's that need to have money to be able to meet your obligations and feel secure. And really it's the driving force. And, even out of lack, the lack motivates people to get off their butt and go do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of grateful that there's that feeling of lack, that people have that motivation in the most basic survival terms,
Mm-hmm.
to pitch in and to carry their weight, so that which has this consequence of fulfilling a role, so that things keep moving and flowing. So
Beautiful. Thank you. Fear is the most basic motivator, fear of death. That survival motivation is the most basic motivator. It's what gets people up and gets them moving, even if nothing else will. It's not sustaining. So love motivation really has to take over at some point, or people give up. And this money need for sustenance that you were talking about, it's definitely a means to get people started, to get people moving. But eventually, and especially in this time of uncertainty of money, that we need to look beyond money and find a deeper reason to get up and move. And, Melissa is a good example of that, of finding something beyond money. She didn't say this, but I'm like 100% sure she's not charging for this mastermind. And she's got a motivation that is beyond money. And this is a great time to start digging deep and finding that motivation, because money's uncertain right now. Survival's uncertain right now. So we need to look for another reason, something beyond that. Thank you. Who else?
I'd like to share.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
The first thing that came to me is that I am grateful I'm supplied with the inspiration that I need. When I was laying in bed, I thought I really needed answers to some questions I have. And then I thought, well, I could just lay there and try to figure it out, or I could get up and read scripture. And so for me, that getting up, and plus I just felt tired, and there's a lot of things going on, and I thought, why don't you just get up and read scripture? And so I'm grateful that I have them, that I can supply myself with everything I need from the scriptures, that if I go, if I go and I read, it may not be the words that I'm reading that are giving me the answer, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just the thoughts that come and inspiration that comes while I'm reading. So it's a chain of events. I read, I ask, I read, I receive.
Beautiful. Thank you. I actually put some scriptures into, we have some backpacks that we've put together that has 3 days worth of food and just supplies and survival tools and things like that, that if at whatever, time we have to pick up and leave for whatever reason, we have that available. And I actually put a book of scripture in that, because I feel like, even if I'm being able to survive physically, I want to be able to survive spiritually. And that constant flow of information, inspiration, is so vital to our spiritual survival. So thank you. I really agree with that. Any last thoughts before we shift over to our permission process?
Michael,
Michael,
I have
thank you.
some.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought was on the inspiration of scriptures and prophets and apostles, and how much it supports and leads us, especially in times of trials. But then I thought about constant supply chain is like a well coming out of the ground or a river flowing into a lake. And the lake depends upon the supply chain of water coming into it. And I thought about food coming into the body, and how the body depends upon this food to turn it into nutrients to help us and support us. Air comes in and it gives us, air gives us nourishment, but it gives us life. And farmers, well, how farmers will grow things, and then it goes to the manufacturer, and then it goes to a processor, or it comes into the grocery stores raw, and then from there, that system, comes to us. So it's all a supply chain, and we know where to go to get it. We didn't have to grow it like they did in the old days. But it's raw material that comes out of the ground. That's the supply chain. And those that dig it out of the ground, and then the manufacturers take it and they manufacture it into something that we can use. like even electronic products or tables and chairs and stuff. And there's a delivery system, and that delivers or supplies products to all the stores. And then we go to the stores or the places that we want, and we choose of all those things what we'd like to supply our homes with. And so there's many supply chains around us. But I think the most important is the spiritual one that comes into our lives, the inspiration, the guidance that we receive when we read scriptures or listen to prophets, apostles, those that have gone before and walked the path and the trail that we're going through. So, yeah, I was in many different directions.
Well, many different directions, but it all culminates into one thing. And I just want to share with you, there's like 3 pieces. One is the source. The second one is me receiving. And the third one is me letting go, like kind of sending it on. Because I think about the Dead Sea, you know, as you were talking about a lake, depends on water to come in. The Dead Sea doesn't have an outlet, but you know, the Sea of Galilee does. The Sea of Galilee is teeming with life, and the Dead Sea is stagnant. And so if we have a great source and we receive, but we don't pass it on, then we can become stagnant. I think about the irrigation system that as a kid, and even a lot of people in my community still do use the irrigation system, where the water comes down the ditch and you lift up the head gate and it comes into your property and you flood it, you know, your garden, and then you shut the head gate and let the water go on down. If we just lifted up the head gate and shut off the supply going down to other people, the source would continue to flow and it would completely flood our land and move, you know, overflow into our neighbors and, you know, get into places, maybe even flood the chickens or whatever, you know, if we don't shut our supply off and then let it go continue on, then, you know, that can cause problems too. So I thought of the source is the living water, something that never dries up, is Christ. And then me asking and receiving and utilizing that living water that I'm receiving, and then also passing it on, as like Melissa was talking about, as, you know, passing along this gratitude call, being an uplifting, you know, sharing an uplifting message on social media, giving a phone call to a friend, whatever. When you have been filled, then it's not just a responsibility and a duty, but it's healthy to pass that on. And that's, I'm creating a series called the Safeguard series right now. And that's, I just feel so blessed myself and so, you know, grateful in this time that I need to share it. It just feels like healthy for me to be able to share that information for others to be able to experience it as well. I know we have probably some other thoughts that could be shared, but we do need to shift over to our permission process. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath. I appreciate everything that has been shared. We've really set this up to be a perfect permission process where we're open to receive information from that living source, asking, receiving, utilizing, getting what we need, and then being willing to pass that on to other people. Just take one more deep breath. And just connecting with that living source of inspiration. And I feel like I've asked this time already a couple times this week, but it's the same question that keeps coming to me is, what is my part in this supply chain? What is my part? And with this new information that we've received today that everyone has shared, just leveling up and seeing your part from a different perspective, and being open to know what that is. What's my part? And as you're becoming more clear with what your part is, There might be a feeling of overwhelm. There might be a feeling of not good enough, whatever it is. Just listen for those limiting beliefs that might be coming up about who you are and the part that you play in our world's survival, in its evolution, in the transformation that's happening. What's my part, and what is the limiting belief that comes with it? And as you're becoming more clear with what that limiting belief is, also be aware of the cost. And as we've been talking about your part as being in the supply chain of this whole earth, and not just the earth of the people that live here on the earth now, but even in the earth's whole history. Like what effect does your part have on the whole human family? And what cost does this limiting belief have on the whole human family and the survival of it, the evolution of it? And as you're becoming more clear of the cost, it's time right now to evaluate. Do you want to hold on to that limiting belief that in the past maybe has helped you feel safe, has helped keep you in your comfort zone? Or now that you know what the cost of that limiting belief is, are you willing to let it go? And if you're willing to give yourself permission to choose a new belief, say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So what are those new beliefs? Let's get at least 2 or 3 new beliefs. Just write down 2 or 3 new beliefs that will take the place of your old limiting belief, and that will empower you, give you courage, give you confidence, and enable you to be able to move forward with your part, taking action, and really showing up as a strong link in the chain, in the supply chain. What are your new beliefs? And as you're writing those new beliefs, I invite you to bring those new beliefs into your consciousness, and also allow them to be incorporated into your subconscious. Just visualize these new beliefs becoming part of who you are, so that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to remember to be this, that it just is who you are. Allow these new beliefs to become strong, to strengthen that link in the supply chain, strengthen you, so that regardless of what is coming our way, what happens today, what happens 6 months from now, what happens 2 years from now, that you are a strong link in the supply chain, that you are solid, that you turn to the living source, that you receive and you utilize the information that you have in a way that will also strengthen others, and then passing that strength on so that it strengthens others. And final question, what is the one most important thing that you could do today to be that strong link in the chain? What is the one most important thing that you could do today to give evidence to these new beliefs that you are a strong link? And just listen for inspiration to tell you this is not a logical choice. This is something that comes to you and that you don't question. It's coming from the living source. Receive it, use it, act on it. In a moment, I'm going to open it up for just have time for maybe 1 or 2 shares. And while you're kind of gathering your thoughts and deciding if you're going to be one to share, I just want to offer 15-minute conversation with anyone who would like to have that with me, a free mentoring session, 15 minutes. All you have to do is just go to askwylene.com and they'll take you directly to my calendar. You can schedule a time to meet with me. AskWilene.com, and that's for a free 15-minute mentoring session with me. Who has something that they would like to share about their experience today?
This is Gary.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
I'd like to share going through, I know this is a little off topic, going through adversity. I was listening to a story about a Navy SEAL woman who was raped on a Navy SEAL. She was thrown off her ship and she fractured her spinal cord, and then she rebuilt it through willpower and prayer and other means. So what I'm saying is basically put your stuff in context, and she also talked about gratitude, going through that experience, and now she's very successful and she helps people from all over the world. So I guess applying context and gratitude. So that's my thought process.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's get one more share.
I'd like to share.
Mary, thank you.
Yes, thank you. What is my part? It's to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of scary, but the cost is holding back and not delivering what others need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not clarity and no boldness, no clarity. So my new beliefs are I am a strong link in the supply chain. I am a voice of truth. I am a voice of comfort. I'm a voice for God, not of God, but I'm a voice for God. I am speaking freely and with confidence, and I am a voice of strength for those who hear.
Wow, beautiful. I think it's a total different perspective when you think of speaking for God. It almost gives more confidence because it's not, it's not my message that I'm sharing, it's God's message that I'm sharing. And it's like no different than standing up and speaking in church. I love that. Thank you. I just want to share that I am seeing that the time that we're in right now, where everybody in the world is experiencing similar situation, we are all on the same playing field. In the past, when you think of like being a mentor or a speaker or an author or something like that, it's like there's these gurus or, people that we look to as, oh, look at what they have done. I could never compete with that. We are all on the same level playing field right now. There are people right now who are seeking for answers. And there are, some of these mentors that have been around forever don't have the right message. They don't have the message that some people need to hear. Their message has been different. Their energy has been different than what is needed right now in this moment today. And so if you feel called, if you feel like that is if that's part of what, you are in the supply chain, don't hesitate. This is a time right now where everybody is equal. Every single one of us has equal opportunity. Social media has made sure of that. YouTube has made sure of that. Anybody can start a platform and speak a message. And there will be people who will flock to you because you have the message that they want to hear. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call today. We'll look forward to being together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. And super excited for this time. And I'm so grateful that so many of you were on this call today, because every single one of you, you needed to hear this. And I expect great things from you. Thank you. Love you all.
Thanks, Olivia.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileneBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.